Hello, everybody, and welcome to another joyous episode of Phil and the Mic. I, as always, am Darrin Michael, and with me, the man who actually just rushed back because he just helped broker a trade. He was instrumental in brokering the trade in which the Eagles sent Zach Ertz to the Cardinals for the great Tony Gowan and the 2022 fifth round pick, Mr. Phil Calise. Phil, how did you get involved in that trade, man? It just came out of nowhere. I thought Ertz wasn't going to be traded. Then all of a sudden I hear that you're involved in this process. How did this come, how did this even happen?
We don't have any affinity to any of our former great players. We just get rid of them. We get them out of here. So as you know, I'm a Joe Douglas and Jets fan, so I really don't care about Zach Ertz. We're the Philadelphia Eagles. They dropped another one yesterday, actually. But where we go.
Is there anybody happier about that trade than Zach Ertz?
I mean, you know what? I know he's a Philly, he's loyal to the Eagles, but nice spot to land in. Nice warm locale, good young quarterback, 5-0 football team. Could do way worse than where they sent him. They definitely did right by him. They took a guy that gave them a lot of years and sent them to a nice place. So
yeah, and if you're the Eagles, I mean, how excited are you about the cornerback Tony Gowan?
Oh, very excited about Tony Gowan. He's going places.
That's about all we know about that. I know, right? Nice dad joke there. That was really good. So before we get into things, I just wanted to tell you about my last basketball game.
We love to hear about basketball.
I know you love hearing about it, but you know what? I don't know if I mentioned on the previous podcast, but there was that rumor that Jon Barry had joined a team and was in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I'm playing in the game, and a game of which I went 0 for 5 from the field and 0 for 1 from the free throw line. So I did really well that game. And we did win 41-40 in overtime against a team that's far less superior than we are, but that's not important. So anyway, with like 10 minutes left in the game, guess who walks in?
JB.
Jon Barry himself walks in. So, needless to say, I get giddy when I see athletes. So maybe that's why I didn't play well. I don't know what the real reason was. Maybe that was it. So anyway, I walked up to him after the game and I said, man, the mighty have fallen. First you're playing in the NBA. Now you're playing in an over 40 men's basketball league in Alpharetta, Georgia. And he's like, yeah, this is just more my style right now. I'm like, okay, sure it is. So we're talking for a few minutes and then he looks at my shoes and I've got these. I don't know if I told you, but when it comes to shoes, I'm really, really cheap. I don't know why. I just don't spend a lot on shoes. I refuse to. So I had gotten these Adidas shoes that look like they're literally like the first high top Adidas shoe that was ever made. That's what they look like, right? And he's like, nice shoes. What are those? Adidas 10s? I didn't even know what he was talking about. I'm like, yeah, I guess. And he goes, man, my dad wore those shoes when he played. And his dad obviously is Hall of Famer Rick Barry, and he obviously played in the 70s. So that was kind of an insult, but I thought it was funny. And he let me take a picture with him and we chatted up for probably 10 minutes. Really nice guy. He had that 14-year career, and then he's been on ESPN since 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So for the last 30 years, he's been involved in the NBA, which is pretty exciting.
Yep.
Which I thought was pretty great. Now I'm never going to play him, unfortunately, but that's okay. That's okay. But the interesting thing about that story is the next morning, I get up and I'm just looking through my phone and I see an ad, and it says Adidas 10s have just come back, and I'm like, all right, this is a little freaky to me. Here I am talking last night about Adidas 10s, and I had never heard of Adidas 10s in my entire life, and then all of a sudden I see something pop up on my phone for Adidas 10s. So is it a conspiracy theory or is my phone listening to me? What's going on here, Phil?
Not sure. But the moral of that story, really all our audience heard, I'll speak for the entire audience. All they heard was you played a whole basketball game, didn't score a point, and the team scored 41. What an ugly performance all around. Let's move on.
It was bad, but you know what? I think I have a broken bone in my toe. I mean, in my foot, and I think that's the problem because whenever I shoot, it goes off to the right. Or I'm sorry, when you're looking at the screen, it's this way. And so I think that's what the problem is.
Yeah, I think so too.
If you've got a problem, if you're jealous of the fact that, that I scored 0 points, which is more points than you scored in the last basketball game, you let me know.
Well, I was gonna interject that you and I scored the same amount of points in that basketball game.
I know, right?
So
It took me 25 minutes to get there, and you didn't even play. So that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. So take us back to last week, man. Talk to me about take me back to fill up your bank account. Let's review that from last week. Dude, the wheels are falling off of you. What's going on?
Fill up the bank account definitely has seen better days. So I'll give the silver lining. Let's start with the good and then we'll go to the ugly.
All right.
The good is if you stick with Phil, and you will have filled up your bank account 75% of the time with my lock of the week. I have moved to 3-1 on my locks of the week, which is a the game I'm most strong about, most convicted about. I'm 3-1. Now I did go 1-2-1 last week, which dropped me to 7-6-1. So I'm just hanging above 500 by, the hair on my chinny chin. So not the record I want to be at, but I am still over 500 and I am very successful with my locks. So we will see what I have in store in a few minutes, but I feel like I got a couple of goodies. I also have a couple of games I'm worried about. I do better though, the more I'm worried about my pick. So I think that might be a good omen for the week.
It seems to be. I think when it seems like the games are tougher, you tend to be on your game.
Yeah, and when I thought I had a bunch of wins last week, I got slaughtered. So.
Yeah, and you know what? And you didn't make bad picks at all, And I mean, I liked your Giants +7 against Dallas, but who would have thought their entire team would be injured? They'd have to bring up guys from across the street at the high school,
Yeah, I mean, do I like the Giants +7 without 7 of their 9 starting caliber weapons? No. So I'd like to have that one back. And Daniel Jones almost fell down on the field in the second quarter from his concussion. I don't know if anybody saw that, but he went to stand up and almost literally went down. I'm like, well, +7 out the window. See you later.
Like, there goes that.
Bring in Mike Glennon.
Anyway, it was a good week. It was a good week. So let's get into our 5 questions, 5 NFL questions for the week. And number 1, Green Bay and Cincinnati, crazy game. Combined in the last 8 minutes of the game, they missed 5 field goal attempts, which I thought was crazy. But a couple things I wanted to talk to you about is towards the end of the game, Green Bay is driving, and it's 3rd and 15, and there's like 10 seconds left. And they elect to kick a field goal, and they miss it. Is that the right move, or is that not the right move? I mean, it's 3rd and 15. You got Aaron Rodgers. I mean, are you really kicking the field goal on 3rd down?
I mean, I can't speak to the Bengals kicker who missed a bunch, but Green Bay does have a legendary kicker. I mean, Mason Crosby's been probably made 150 game-winning field goals, I feel like, in his career.
Yeah.
I mean, so they got a little conservative, definitely, and they relied on a kicker that they have the utmost confidence in. But it was a wacky end of that game. I actually caught that ending of the game, and I saw most of those missed field goals, and that was a wacky scene. But it did, even in overtime, it felt like once Green Bay got past like the 35, they were just settling for a field goal despite all the misses.
Yeah.
They were just like, all right, let's run Mason back out. I couldn't believe that they didn't take shots deep. They didn't try to end the game with a win, like with a touchdown. They didn't. They were content playing conservative.
Actually, what was interesting? That kick, it wasn't with 10 seconds left in the game. It was 3rd and 15. I think it was in overtime.
Might have been.
I think that's what it was, and that's what annoyed me because you know how the rule is. The first team if you score a touchdown, the game's over.
Game's over, yeah.
So to me, why are you playing for a field goal? Why aren't you going for the touchdown on 3rd and 15? I still don't understand that.
Well, hold on. So the downside to do this podcast on a Friday, which is when we're doing it, is that a whole week has passed and I've worked and my brain has fried. So I'm not like right on top of thinking about the game. But now that I'm remembering, it just hit me. Burrow threw a pick in overtime. So the Packers were lined up to win the game. The field goal did win the game because he threw a pick. So their possession ended. So the Packers were controlling.
It was before that. Yes. In that case, yes, he did. Yeah. And they were able to win the game on a field goal. That's different. I'm talking about when you need a touchdown to win the game right there.
And when your kicker is struggling to begin with, and you're now giving up your control of winning the game. If you settle for a field goal, you can get beat on a touchdown. Yeah,
like it's only third down. You still have another down. And then something else that I thought was interesting. I don't know if you saw this, but the Bengals went to kick it to win the game, and it was like a 50-some yard field goal, and the ball went up, and it kind of went almost over the goalpost almost, and it hit the flag. Right.
I saw that.
You saw that.
It hit it heading the wrong way.
Yeah. And they're all like they're all celebrating, and he missed it. It was literally like one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And he didn't miss it by much.
No, the kicker jumped into the center's arms. I know.
Yeah. I know. So hysterical.
You don't see that often where the kicker thought he made a field goal he didn't make, and it was close, but it was clearly wide left.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely was 100%. So I thought that was interesting. Question number 2. Davis Mills. I know we made fun of this guy because his first game was, one for the ages. It was literally one of the worst games ever. But what does he do against the Patriots? He goes 21 for 29, 312 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. What the hell? What the hell? Did he just get lucky, or is this guy actually a serviceable NFL player? What are your thoughts on this guy out of nowhere?
You think if he keeps playing like that in the huddle, they're going to call him the General Mills?
I don't know.
I had to do that joke.
I don't know. I don't know. They could.
I don't know, man. I can't put much. Davis Mills, he doesn't excite me. Can I get Deshaun Watson and the pedophilia and whatever else he did wrong back in there? His masseuse problems. I can't watch Davis Mills play football.
It's he doesn't really have that NFL name. Hello, I'm Davis Mills the third. He's more of like a Southern.
That's a golf name.
Wealthy.
That's a golf name.
That's Davis Love. No, it's close. It's close.
Well, it's like I think of Davis Love, Davis Mills.
Yeah, I guess it works.
He's garbage. He's garbage. Right. The Texans are garbage. Let's move on.
Okay. I appreciate your candor. Question number 3. And this I thought was the wildest game of the week. The Chargers beat the Browns 47-42. Explain to me this. Combined, they scored 41 points in the fourth quarter. What the hell is going on there? That's what I want to know.
Bonanza of scoring.
I think the Chargers scored 25 points alone in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Listen, Justin, I'll make him French. Justin Herbert.
Herbert. I don't know.
He'd be a good goalie. Justin Herbert. Herbert's been the man. He is now ascended to just underneath the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He had an incredible rookie season. He's backed it up with a great start to his sophomore year when a lot of guys tend to struggle. The sophomore slump, he hasn't had it. And the Chargers are humming along. If they played any defense, they'd be dangerous. Obviously, they don't. And I think it's very impressive to beat Cleveland because we know Cleveland's got some edge rushers. They got some talent. I think the world of the Chargers right now. They're playing great. And he's leading the charge.
What does that tell you about either of those teams as far as defense-wise? Because we've already seen this year with Kansas City having a lot of trouble because they don't have a defense. So, are these two teams, which are clearly supposed to make the playoffs and are obviously really good teams, are these teams going to run into the same issue because their defense isn't what it should be?
Yeah, these defenses are, I don't like to put too much stock in any one game. You can look at an NFL season and there's some ebbs and flows and surprises along the way. Yeah. I think Cleveland and the Chargers both have top 6, top 7 offenses in football. So on any given week, if the defense struggles against, Herbert can make things happen with his feet, with his arm. The Browns have a ton of talent there on offense. So I don't want to overstate it. I do think they both have opportunistic defenses. And I think that game got crazy. But I think you're going to see both of those defenses give up some points because they play aggressively. And they know they have a good offenses behind them. So it's going to burn them on occasion. And they happen to get into a slugfest, and it happened to be that way. But I think there are two teams that have a chance to do some damage. And if the Chiefs have come back to the pack like we've seen, it's a little bit more wide open. I know you disagree with Buffalo, but it's a little bit more wide open.
Yeah, it definitely is. Question number 4, Antonio Brown. fastest man ever to 900 catches, did it in his 143rd game. 2 questions for you. How much do you think he has left in the tank at age 33? And is he already a Hall of Famer?
I thought you were going to ask me how much do I think he has left in the bank, because I think he squandered a lot of his money. AB, listen, he's totally rejuvenated playing with Tom, getting the ball in Tampa. He's one of those guys that I think has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, or he should be a Hall of Famer, because he's had a lot of great years. If he can just have like 2 more really good years, like top years, which he now has a chance, this year's looking like it. I think he is a Hall of Famer. I think he's gonna. I think he is.
He's got at least 2 rings.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's got a third, but he's got at least 2.
Yeah.
So so we'll see what happens. And then question number 5, and this is kind of the biggest question of the week, and that is John Gruden. Emails from 10 years ago and his subsequent resignation. 2 parts of this question. One, how do you feel about the whole email thing getting you fired 10 years later? And then the second part of my question is Urban Meyer next? Because he's got kind of a big mouth, and he's kind of shady, to put it lightly. So what are your takes on those 2 topics?
Well, I mean, listen, I think Gruden had to go because of the distraction that they would have made it. So he would have never been able to have a normal press conference again.
That's true.
He would have, I just think it was going to be an absolute nightmare. I think the NFL is really just kind of using him as a scapegoat to cover for a whole bunch of stuff that was going on, and they're trying to like throw one to the wolves to get everybody's attention off of it. But I think there's going to be a lot more that comes out there, and they're just hoping it goes away now with Gruden getting axed.
Yep.
Do I think on the surface anybody should be held to, 10 years ago comments were like that we're a society that wants to get everybody, and you make a mistake, you say something, maybe out of context, you don't know the context behind it. When a private email is going out, could be buddies that are having a conversation that don't mean anything by something, but they have a relationship where they joke and they do certain things.
That's
I think it's very dangerous to start playing this game where anything that goes in our personal lives gets used in the public court of appeal to assassinate everyone. Like I hate that.
That's right.
And as far as Urban Meyer, he should just be fired because he's an idiot. I mean, he doesn't get on the plane with his team. Then he gets caught in the bar looking like a buffoon at 60-something years old. He is shady, and he leaves every program he ever went to better off in some regards, but always some scandals. And there's always tarnish. It's never clean with Urban Meyer. He left Florida in a bit of a shambles.
That's true.
I don't know what he left Utah. I mean, Utah maybe not, but Ohio State, a lot of stuff. I'm not a fan of Urban Meyer. Guy wins, but the NFL is a whole different ball game. And for everybody out there who thinks they're the next great coach, they all got to take a look and realize Nick Saban failed in the NFL.
Yep.
Chip Kelly was all the rage for a while. He failed in the NFL. Pretty much every coach not named Pete Carroll failed in the NFL from being a good college coach.
That's right.
And it's because of a statement Urban Meyer apparently made after week 3, which apparently got him laughed off of by every NFL head coach, which was simply he was going to shake whatever coach's hand of a game he lost, and he goes, "Man, it's like everybody's Alabama here." Yeah, well, ding dong, Urban. I don't know if you know this, but you're not 46 points favored in 9 of your 12 games now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you actually have to game plan, and the talent disparity is like this much.
Yep.
So it gets down to actual coaching, and apparently, when push comes to shove, you're not one of the best 32 at that. So
turns out he's not. Interesting. Yeah. Let's talk about our player of the week. So I got 3 guys that had really great performances. I want you to tell me who you're going to give your game ball to. All right. Number 1, Mr. Tom Brady, 30 for 41, 411 yards and 5 touchdowns in a 45-17 win over Miami. Number 2, Derrick Henry, 29 rushes, 130 yards and 3 touchdowns in a shocking 37-19 win over the Jaguars. And number 3, winning by 3 points in overtime, Davante Adams, 11 catches, 206 yards and a touchdown. Who gets Phil's game ball of the week?
I mean, you went with 3 guys who won.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to poke holes in your three, or try to separate them in my head. I think I go with Devontae Adams doing it in overtime. They were clearly in a dogfight in that game, whereas, beating up on Miami or the Jaguars, maybe you don't necessarily get player of the week for doing that, despite great numbers across the board.
Yeah.
I'll go with the toughest game. I'll go with the receiver that had a big impact in an overtime game. So go DA.
Well, nice. Congratulations, DA. You get the game ball for the week. Now let's get to my favorite part of the podcast, and that is fill up your bank account. There's no pressure. You're 7-6-1 after basically starting the season 30-0. So you've been terrible lately. Can you redeem yourself this week? That is the question.
And you know what? We should have some dramatic music right now. We should set the stage for this. But we're gonna go right into it. Yeah, I do need a big week, because that was an ugly week last week. So
that was pretty ugly.
So as you look at the games this week, and this is why I have a bit of I feel a little bit nervous about this week. A lot of close spreads, lots of teams on the West Coast coming all the way to the Northeast to play games.
Yeah.
Seems like in often cases the better teams on the road this week. So a lot of close spreads. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go with 3 games plus a lock. So we're going to go 4 in all.
Okay.
And I'll save the lock for last. Here's the 3 games I like. I think the bloom is off the rose in Carolina with Mr. Darnold. As soon as he started playing better teams, I think he's come back to the pack a bit. And so the Vikings are playing well. I think the Vikings can score on anybody. I don't love the Vikings as much on the road as I do at home, but I'm going to take Minnesota 2.5 points favored at Carolina. So I'm going with ESPN spreads here. So I'm going to go Vikes minus 2.5. I just think they're playing better. And I think no McCaffrey. And I just think Carolina's, they're not that good. I didn't believe they went from 5 wins to like 12 wins. So their 3-0 start is a little misleading. They weren't playing good teams.
Yep.
Next game, I'm going to go more with this pick. It's a division rivalry. I think the one team is in shambles right now off of what we just talked about with Gruden. So I'm going to take the Broncos and lay 4 at home against the Raiders. And it's a little bit of a pick against what's going on in LA or wherever they're at, Vegas, wherever the Raiders now reside. Because I don't know if they get off the deck right now. I think they're in a little bit of an issue. They don't really have a head coach there. And I think the Broncos are pretty good. I think the Broncos defense is pretty good. I think it's a tough game. 4 points, a little bit more than I want to lay, but I'm going to do it. The next game, I've been on this team. The Cowboys only being 3 points favored in New England. Listen, the Cowboys have flaws. I don't want to say they're flawless, but the Cowboys can score.
Yep.
And the Cowboys have a really good offense. And there's nothing the Patriots do well. And to me, the spread is only 3 because Vegas is still giving Belichick a lot of props and a lot of respect. But to me, this isn't a 3-point spread. One team is clearly heads and tails better, and they only have to lay 3. So I almost made this my lock, but I found the game I like better.
Nice.
I really think the Cowboys are going to cover this spread here and beat New England. And New England, by the way, just embarrassed themselves in a win last week by getting down like 19 to General Mills. And then they were able to come back. But my goodness, that's not a game I'm excited by, that they struggled with that team.
I don't know. So I thought Mac and Cheese Jones did a nice job of the comeback.
Mac and Cheese Jones took care of it. So now we go with a little drum roll.
There it is. Let's hear it.
We got the lock of the week. This is something I would never normally do. West Coast team traveling to an East Coast team to play a 1:00 kick on the East Coast. This is like a taboo thing. I usually like the East Coast team just off of that weirdness. I don't think the West Coast teams do well playing at what amounts to 10 a.m. their time.
Yep.
But I just can't pass on this game. And then the final straw was the injury report I just happened to see. So I'm going to take the Cardinals getting 3.5 at Cleveland. No Nick Chubb, ruled out. Cleveland's a little banged up. Landry's still not back. Beckham might as well still not be back the way he's playing. And I get 3.5 with what I think is the better team.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm a little scared by the that's the thing that scares me, the west to east thing. But I really, really like the Cardinals here, plus 3.5. I think they win the game outright. So that's where I landed. Little Cards, little Cowboys, little Bronx and Vikes. Look, Cards with the lock. I think feel like I got a good week coming. I feel like
All
I
right.
feel good about it.
Well, listen, man,
especially the lock. I feel really good about the lock.
we're all cheering for you because God only knows you need it. So anyway, there's the fill up your bank account picks for the week, including Phil's lock. So take those to the bank, make money while you can. Phil says this is how you do it. So good luck, and everybody enjoy that the upcoming NFL week. Let's get into just a quick run around baseball. And last night was a really, really exciting game in which the Dodgers took down the Giants. They actually scored a run in the 9th inning. And what I found was really interesting, and this is kind of what I love about the playoffs. You pull out all the stops basically, and right after, I don't even know who it was, the Giants reliever gave up the run, which I think was a Bellinger single. Who did they bring in? They brought in their ace pitcher, their ace starting pitcher, which I can't even believe I'm saying since I'm an O's fan, Kevin Gausman. And what does he do? He proceeds to come in, and the guy's lights out. So what do the Dodgers do? Bottom of the 9th, they're up by 1 run on the road at San Francisco. What do you do if you're Dave Roberts, the manager? I know. I'll bring in Max Scherzer to get the save. And sure enough, Max Scherzer got the save. And to me, I think that's just a cool way to win when you're pulling out like all of the crazy stops like that. I think that's what makes playoff baseball fun.
Listen, though, I'll give you a couple of quick facts about that series and the season series with those two teams. So one won 107 games, one won 106 games. They were the two best teams in all of baseball, record-wise, all year. Unfortunately, because of baseball's stupid non-reseeding rules, they have to meet in the division round, right?
Yep.
They played 24 times this year. They finished 12-12 against each other.
Wow.
They just had wars with each other, and LA was the last one standing in a 2-1 game in the 9th inning on the road. I mean, they're as even as it gets. And in a loss, if it's ever possible, you obviously feel bad for either team that won that many games and gets knocked out. But man, the Giants were a team I just on paper never believed were that good. But they gave the Dodgers everything they could handle, and I firmly believe would have beaten any other team with the way they were playing. I think they just ran into just a slightly more special team that was even more battle-tested, the World Series defending champs. But I think the winner of that series is clearly the favorites to win it all.
Oh, it's
clearly.
There's got to be. Now,
doesn't mean they will, because baseball can be funky and stuff can go wrong. But they're clearly on paper the best of the 4 teams left. They're the best by a lot.
Oh, listen. Baseball is crazy in the playoffs. You never know what's going to happen. So here we go. We've got Astros and Red Sox, and we've got Braves and Dodgers. Right now, how much is Major League Baseball praying that the World Series is the Red Sox and Dodgers?
It's this one's going to be interesting. This one's going to be really, MLB needs the Sox. I think the MLB needs the Sox and Dodgers if they're getting what they really want.
They really do.
But I got to tell you, I think this is going to be a war. I think these two teams will be in a shootout, and it'll be a war. I think this is a good series. I think it's a fun series. I'm not sure about the Braves and Dodgers, but I think the Astros and Red Sox are going to go 7.
Yeah, that should be good. That should be, me being in Atlanta, and I wish I could say I'm a Braves fan, but I'm not. I'm really impressed that they actually have gotten as far as they have, and they've played as well as they have, because if you remember in the middle of the season, their star went out. So he went down early, and I know how I know that very well because he was my first round pick in my fantasy league. So to be able to play as well as they're playing without Acuna, I think is phenomenal. Incredible. And I don't think you can't, with the way that they're playing, you really can't put it past them. And they really got by the Brewers very easily. And we know the Brewers have that really, really tough pitching staff. So
it's true.
So we'll see, man. I think that there's some surprises
Listen,
now.
if you're in Atlanta right now, you have every right to be pleasantly surprised with the season they've had.
Very
They
much.
they got fortunate that the division stunk, but that's not their fault. And Acuna would have made a big difference in running away with that division anyway. And beating the Brewers was a good win. And now you know what? They got a little bit of, as they say, house money playing the Dodgers. They're not the favorite, but they are the home team. They do have home field. They got a shot. They certainly got a shot. And the Dodgers just had a brutal war with the Giants, so they're
Yeah.
catching them at a good time. So they got a shot.
Listen,
I think they got a shot.
you picked Yanks at LA. I picked White Sox at LA. So no matter what, at least we still have a chance of being 50% right.
I know.
You know,
It didn't look like a good pick anymore.
It
Tried to be a
was-
little different in the American League, and
so
the
was I.
American League's wide open. So
Yeah.
it really is, because at this point now, any one of those teams could have made it, and nobody really. The Red Sox would have probably been people's least likely choice to get there. They hobbled into the wild card.
Yeah.
They had to beat the Yankees in a one game. Then they had to beat Tampa, and they did it amazingly.
Easily.
And
Yeah.
I mean, they had to be the least likely, but now they're one series away from getting there. So now who knows? You never know.
No, it's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting. And the last thing that I wanted to mention really quickly, because we're doing kind of an abbreviated episode today. Now that Alabama lost last week, UGA is the number one, and they're actually a unanimous number one, which we haven't been seeing very often. You think they are worthy of being the unanimous number one? I personally think they're head and shoulders above everybody else, but how do you see UGA?
Yeah, I mean, with Alabama losing, Georgia has every right to be the unanimous number one right now. It is a weird. The teams at the top are not the household names right now. Iowa, Cincinnati, Michigan, because Michigan hasn't been good in a decade.
Yeah,
even them being up there.
Yeah.
It's a little bit wide open. Oklahoma's trying to stay up there, even though they give up 80 points in every game. Typical Oklahoma. But Georgia's unanimous number one. They deserve it. They are. And I think they're almost at the point that Alabama normally is, which is if Georgia even loses a game, they'll probably still be in the top four.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
when it's all said and done. So.
No, absolutely. So it's exciting. We'll get more into college football probably next week, because I know there's a bunch of good games going on this week. Before we go, we recorded the other day a special episode of Phil on the Mic that we're going to be releasing probably Monday morning. Do you want to tell our fans about it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we were able to get Mr. Andy McGaffigan on, who's a very successful major league pitcher from 81 to 91, and he was kind enough to join us, and we were able to have him for a little over an hour. He was very generous with his time, and he was fascinating to just hear about the life of really what I took out of it. I'll just tease this for the show, but he took us really through his whole career. But it was interesting to hear how he never really thought of himself as a major league pitcher, and really the evolution of his early childhood years of playing ball all the way through, actually to current events of today. So really nice guy, fun having him on and getting to hear his story. And I think the audience will really like hearing from him.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a really enjoyable perspective when he talks about his first experiences, and you learn what it's like when he got called up to the majors, when he got drafted, when he went to spring training for the first time, the first time he went to Yankee Stadium, guys that he pitched against. It's really fascinating, and he's such a great, wonderful guy. And everybody, make sure you tune in, because it's a really, really great interview, and a great episode. Everybody's going to enjoy it. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Have a great football weekend, and keep your fingers crossed for me for Tuesday for basketball. If we win, we're in the playoffs. If we lose, I think we're out of the playoffs. And my goal this time is to score one basket. So the over under for me is 2 points. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
So appreciate it, everybody, and take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Don't embarrass the show. See you.
All right. So long, everybody.